McQuestion, for over 28 years talking about things that matter with people who care. Production of McQuestion is made possible in part by individual viewers, supporters of the Foundation for Responsible Television, the Hatton W. Sumner's Foundation, helping to educate the public about the fundamental principles of their democracy and thus be in a position to help formulate public policy. Moss Adams LLP, certified public accountants and consultants, providing industry-smart tax, assurance, and consulting solutions to help businesses and their owners succeed since 1913. The University of Texas at Dallas, creating the future.
You know, like many of you, I have a tendency to rant at my elected officials. Yet over the years, I have often communicated with them via snail mail, email, phone, and personal meetings. It's true that I have more of an opportunity to communicate with congressmen than many of you, but on this program, you'll see just how effective you can be. We'll discuss the importance of making your views heard and what congressmen listen to and ways of communicating that make sense, especially when you're well informed about the issues. So let's meet the panel. Starting on my right is Cal Gilson. He's a professor of political science at SMU. He's a former chair of the John G. Tower Center and the author of 7 books, including Texas Politics, Governing the Land of the Lone Star State, Lone Star Tarnished, a critical look at Texas politics and public policy, and American Government Now in its 9th issue. Cal, welcome back to the program.
Thanks for having me, Dennis.
And sitting next to you is Randy Ford. Randy is the president of National Write Your Congressman. That's a nonpartisan organization founded in 1958 that provides citizens information on issues along with a way to communicate with their congressman. Now, Randy, give me a sense and give that viewer a sense of just exactly what National Write Your Congressman does and how you go about it.
Sure, thank you. Pleased to be here, Dennis. So, as you said, we were founded in 1958, based here in Dallas, Texas, founded here in Dallas. And what we have always been about is educating constituents on the issues from a nonpartisan platform, and perhaps more importantly, having them have their voice expressed in Washington, D.C. and in their state capitals. And so we keep them abreast. Now, our primary customers are small business owners, so we keep them informed of the issues that Congress is debating. We give both a Republican and Democratic viewpoint, which a lot of people these days say, how do you do that? And it's actually pretty simple because you look for the facts of the legislation, and we find that if people are educated enough, they can come to their own conclusion how the pending legislation may affect their business or their home life or issues that they're concerned about.
Well, interestingly enough, that's exactly what we do on this program. People often ask me, they say, well, Dennis, you don't seem to have a position on this program. I said, well, we have, first of all, educated viewers, including you, educated viewers who listen to people talk about these issues on both sides. You send people emails now. I don't know if you still send mail or not. We'll find in a minute. And the ones I get from you have, okay, here's this side of the issue and here's this side of the issue, believing that people like me who are hopefully educated enough can decide that we believe in this side or this side, and then we simply communicate, actually do it via email now, communicate to my congressman what I would like to say in addition to what you guys send. Is that about the way it's done?
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, one of the things that we battle out there is people think, well, does it really matter? If I take the time to read on this, educate myself, and send an email or still a letter into Congress, about 10% of the communication that they still receive today is via mail, but most of it's email. Are they going to really listen? Are they going to pay attention? And we have participated in numerous studies in Washington, D.C., specifically with the Congressional Management Foundation, that reinforces that your voice does matter. And as a constituent, back home in the district, the members of Congress truly do want to hear how you feel.
Mm-hmm. And you've also talked to some of the elected officials here and other places as well. Do they know who you are when you contact them? You say, I'm head of the National Write Your Congressman thing. Do they typically go, I know who they are?
They do, and particularly their staff do.
Right.
We sort of create job security, particularly for the legislative correspondents and the legislative assistants in the office, because we are delivering pure constituent communication, again, primarily from small business owners, not major corporations, but small business owners, and letting them know how this pending legislation, so we're dealing with it as the bill is moving through committee, it's going through markup, the process of adding or subtracting to the bill. And so this is when the members of Congress really need to hear from the folks back home on their opinion on this pending legislation. So we get to them before they vote, not after they vote.
Exactly. Now, Cal, years ago, I actually belonged to the National Write-Your Congressman when I was running a bank 40 plus years ago. And interesting enough, just ran into these folks accidentally a few months ago and went by and met Randy and found out that he was involved with the organization. So he says that they pay attention. You say what?
I say they pay attention because the congressman's first and for many of them only priority is re-election. And everyone who has a vote to cast, they care about that person's perception of them. So if somebody forwards a sort of form email to a congressman's office, the congressman is not going to pay any attention to that. There can be 100 of them and they're still not going to pay any attention. A personal letter, an email that some individual wrote, or a handwritten letter coming into a congressman's office does get their attention because it's usually not the only one. If they see 10 or 20 of those, they know that there are 1,000 or 2,000 people who are also thinking about that issue. So a personal communication to a congressman is always taken seriously.
Now you teach, obviously, government, political science, that sort of thing. How do the students, what do they know when they get there about how this representative government works? And then what do you try to tell them about this idea of trying to make your voices heard to the elected representatives?
Yeah, most students arrive in college with a high school textbooks, a sort of civic understanding of government. And what I try to give them is a sense of how you move the system if you care about a particular issue. And writing to your congressman is one of those levers. If you show that you know what you're talking about and you care about that issue, a congressman's office, and oftentimes it will be the staff, you're not going to see the congressman. The congressman may not even see the letter, but every congressman has a staff of 15 or 20 that have responsibility for energy, for health care, for various areas. Those people will see these letters and they'll communicate to the congressman that there's surprising interest in this pending piece of legislation. Most of it is worried to negative, be careful.
Right.
And that's what you're trying to tell them.
Right. And somehow, I bet there's one person watching this program is probably sitting there. It's a lady, I can see her right now, and she is saying, "No way, Jose. The only thing that matters, Cal, is how much campaign cash. If you don't give them any money, they're not going to listen. And even if you do, the big businesses, the big lobbyists, the political action committees, and the Republican or Democratic National Committee drive all their votes anyway, so we're just playing a game here and it doesn't make any sense." And how would you react to that lady who said that?
Well, it's not that money doesn't matter, and it's not that big money doesn't get heard first, but those people have one vote. The lady that you were just talking to has one vote. And re-election means that you've got to appeal to your constituents, those regular people who may be driven by a lot of campaign commercials that you had to raise the money to put on the air. But if that